This woman is about to die from dehydration, but instead of drinking the half bottle of water she's holding, she pours every last drop on her face. Then she grabs the empty bottle and climbs to the highest point she can find. She actually starts licking rainwater that's seeping through the rusty metal plates. But this pathetic method of drinking isn't nearly enough to satisfy her thirst, so she starts collecting the droplets and funneling them back into the bottle. Unfortunately, this rust-contaminated rainwater isn't much better than seawater. Within minutes the woman starts dry heaving uncontrollably. She's been trapped inside this shipping container for an entire week now. What makes it even worse is that outside lies nothing but endless ocean. Seawater keeps pouring in through tiny holes, flooding the container bit by bit. Although the woman hasn't had clean water for days, this contaminated seawater is absolutely undrinkable. Just when she's about to lose all hope, she suddenly feels droplets hitting her face. She slowly lifts her head upward and discovers something miraculous. It's actually starting to rain outside. The woman can't believe her luck as she struggles to her feet. She greedily savors this gift from heaven, letting every drop hit her skin. She doesn't dare waste a single second of this opportunity. She frantically grabs every food container she can find and spreads them across the table. She's determined to collect every precious drop of this life-saving fresh water. But she knows this won't last forever and time is running out fast. Her most urgent priority is to drill through the container wall and escape. But just when she's halfway through, the power drill overheats and dies completely. Now she's lost her only hope of getting out of this metal prison. There's absolutely no way her bare hands can break through solid steel. Even more terrifying is the fact that her last 2 bottles of fresh water are nearly empty. This tragic situation pushes her over the edge into pure rage. The woman starts violently smashing everything around her in a fit of desperation. But in her fury she accidentally uncovers a serrated knife hidden beneath the debris. Looking at the saw-like blade, hope suddenly ignites in her eyes again. But this primitive tool is obviously nowhere near as effective as the power drill. After sawing for hours she hasn't made even the slightest progress. Her hands are now covered in bloody wounds from gripping the rough blade. Plus, after going so long without water, her body has reached its absolute breaking point. When night falls she desperately grabs the leftover piece of placenta in a delirious state. For her child, a mother will do absolutely anything to survive. By the next morning the woman suddenly thinks of a brilliant escape plan. She first calms down the baby, then immediately gets to work on her idea. The container now has cuts on all sides except one crucial section. The woman realizes she can treat this like opening a giant can. She just needs to find the right leverage point and pry the opening wider. She decides to put this plan into action immediately. First she grips 2 metal straps with both hands as tightly as possible. Then she uses every ounce of strength she has left and pulls downward with desperate force. Through her relentless efforts the gap slowly starts getting wider and wider. Finally she puts her entire body weight behind the effort. With a loud creaking and groaning of metal, the steel plate finally gives way completely. Long-lost sunlight floods across the woman's face for the first time in days. But when she climbs up to the surface her joy quickly turns to despair. She sees nothing but vast endless ocean stretching in every direction. The shipping container looks like a tiny leaf floating on an infinite sea, and she herself feels like nothing more than a grain of sand in this massive ocean. Still, compared to the dark damp interior below, the outside air feels absolutely wonderful. Desperate to escape this floating prison she writes dozens of SOS messages. She stuffs them into food containers and throws them into the ocean one by one. She's praying that some passing ship might spot one of her desperate pleas for help. Even though the chances are incredibly slim, she knows she has to keep trying. During her loneliest moments she stares toward the distant horizon. She thinks about her husband and wonders if she'll ever see him again. With no one else to talk to she starts telling stories to her baby. She shares memories from her own childhood and how she first met Daddy. She even tells him about how they escaped from the war together. The baby obviously can't understand the words, but from his expressions he seems to sense his mother's pain. Looking down at her sleeping child, the woman makes a solemn vow to stay strong and survive. Even if it's just for one more day, she absolutely refuses to give up hope. As time passes the water level inside the container rises to a critical point. The interior space has become completely uninhabitable for human life. The mother and child are forced to relocate permanently to the outside deck.